Hello, my loves. Allie here, sending so much love and Happy New Year blessings. This is your 2025 energetic, cosmic, spiritual download. So let's get right into it of kind of the energy that the cosmos will be presenting, the energy of the numerology of this year, and the spiritual concepts, lessons, teachings of this upcoming year as well. So that you all know the way that I teach is always like, how can we work with the energy so that we're not forcing ourselves against it? So I'm going to dive into the numerology of the year first. And the numerology of this year is that it's in the year of the 9. When you add up 2 plus 2 plus 5, we get 9. So it's the year of the 9. The 9 in numerology is considered the last number of the numerology wheel, if you will. And the idea of this is once we get to 10, then we start over at 1 again. So 10 is really just 1 amplified. So a 10 year, which will be next year, will just feel like the amplification of 1 energy. So it's like 1 on steroids. So here we are, though, at the year of a 9, which is all about endings and closure. Specifically, it's the energetics of transformation. It's the understanding of the importance of honoring life's cycles, the importance of honoring when things need to shift, when things need to change, when certain things or habits or beliefs in our lives need to die out and come into completion because something new is trying to be born in our lives. So it's very much connected to the energetics of closure and allowing the nature's natural process within our lives, within other people's lives, within our circumstances, within our environment, etc., to do what is inevitable, which is transform, which is evolve, all through the process and the journey of death, letting go, release, and closure. So this is an opportunity specifically because 9 is also the number of the magician. It's like the number of magic. It's a super wise number because there's ultimately nothing wiser than allowing things to run its course and to be done when it's done and to move on and to allow things to let go and die. But it is a deeply spiritual number and you could almost think of the number 9 as like the wise sage. But what it's representing most with this energy of completion and release and letting things kind of run their course and come to an end when it's necessary is more than anything, it's the energetics of wholeness, the understanding of wholeness. And specifically because the number 9 holds the energy of the wise sage and wisdom and magic and all of these things, it's reminding us that we have been on a spiritual journey. We have been on quite a journey of evolution, especially if we allowed ourselves to really dive in specifically over the past, I'm going to say, 5 years, really over the past 5 years, according to numerology specifically, has been the most like amplified shift and change in our spirituality and our understanding of the world and spiritual lessons and our evolution and our growth and our transformation and all of these things. So the year of the 9 says, honey, it's time to wrap all of that up. It's time to bring all of that into like this beautiful place of closure. It's time to allow those lessons to fully come into fruition and to feel whole and complete because there's new lessons ready to come in. There's new opportunities ready to come in. So this is the year to truly honor all that you've learned, all that you've grown through, all that you've experienced spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally over the past, you could say 9 years, but specifically over the past 5 years is when it's really that transition energy, that transformation energy started to kick in. So it's an opportunity to honor wholeness, And it makes all the sense. I'm going to jump to astrology for just a moment and then come back to the number 9. But it makes sense because we have a nodal shift with the lunar nodes this year. So for the past 18 months, we've really been operating under the general energetics of The North Node, which is like our North Star, our destiny, the path that we're meant to walk down, all as a collective, has been in Aries over the past 18 months. And Aries is very like pioneer energy. It's all about the self. It's honoring your individuality, etc., etc. It's all about creation and ignition type of energy. But more than anything, it's like honoring the truth of who you are. Whereas the South Node has been in Libra over the past 18 months. And what that just means is it's giving us an opportunity to kind of release old habits and patterns that fall under the category of Libra, which ultimately, like if you were to just give it a thesis statement, is like enough with the people pleasing, enough with the trying to make your decisions or making your decisions or living your life based on the wishes, the desires, the needs of other people, based on seeking approval, based on our need to be loved and all of these things, and instead knowing that we will be accepted, we will be loved, etc., when we follow the North Star, when we follow the truth of who we are, when we follow our internal compass and those the callings of the heart, and when we live our lives in that way, in a really bold and brave way without holding ourselves back. So that's the energy that we've been in over the past 18 months. Now we're transitioning into North Node Pisces and South Node Virgo. And so what that really means is both Pisces and Virgo hold the energetics of healing. Hold the energetics of healing, but in different ways. Pisces is our North Node. It's our North Star. It's what we're stepping into this year, which is all around the understanding and the devotion to spirituality. So Pisces governs spiritual healing, emotional healing. It says like we've honored over the past 18 months, we've began to carve a new path. We've begun to really step into the truth of who we are. Now we honor the spirituality of it. We call on God. We call on the universe. We call on the divine to help guide the way now. We've become even more clear on who we are and why we're here. And now we ask for spiritual guidance. We do the work to cleanse and clear any subconscious limiting beliefs this year and for the next 18 months, because this nodal shift happens at the top of the year. It happens January 11th is when it'll start to shift. So top of the year, we're going to start to feel into this nodal shift. And this is also where the eclipses will happen in this year as well. So we'll feel like major change in these areas of our lives during the eclipse season. But the point is that it's all about deep diving into our spiritual connectivity. And also a willingness to live our lives in a more dream-like state, devoting ourselves to our dreams and really doing what we need to do around spiritual and emotional healing so that we can live the life of our dreams. And this nodal shift is asking us to be more ethereal, to believe in the esoteric and to believe in magic, and to understand that just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And to note that, it's a shift from our obsession, because Virgo is all about the tangible. Virgo is all about getting lost in the details, obsessed with the details, hyper-focused on the details, all about reality, and I'm using quotation marks, but all about what we can prove to be true, what's right in front of our faces, all of these things. There's magic to Virgo too, do not get me wrong. But this year we're really, and for the next 18 months, we're really being encouraged to believe in magic, to let go of perfection, to let go of our obsession with things going this way or that way, to let go of our habits that we think are working, and instead embrace otherworldliness, embrace more flow state. So it's a real invitation to get into flow state and release that rigidity around a fixed mindset. And I love it this year. My daughter, Willow, in her school, their whole theme of the first term was all around understanding the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And that is the perfect way to explain what's happening this year energetically with this nodal shift. We need to enter flow state and let go of rigid state. Even the habits, I think this is so important to note, even the habits that we feel are, good for us. I'm using air quotes again, good for us or serving us or whatever it may be, knowing that there's infinite possibilities. And this North Node in Pisces reminds us there's infinite possibilities. This universe is vast. We need to put ourselves in situations, environments, places, relationships, etc., that remind us of the bigness of the world, that remind us of the vastness of the world. So we don't get so sucked into the minutia, so that we don't get so sucked into that autopilot, this is the way it is because this is the way I've always done it type of living and beliefs and thinking patterns, etc. Pisces reminds us that this world is ethereal, that it is mystical, that it is magical. And when we can really open ourselves up to that, we will experience miracles galore. And when you put that energy together with the 9, like Pisces and the energy of the number 9 hold this in common. And it is the energy of the visionary, of imagination, and of magic. And so it's a real invitation for us to check in with our lives, to really check in with our day-to-day lives, really check in with your emotional state. Are you well? Are you genuinely emotionally well? And if not, could we dream a bigger life for ourselves? Could we dream our way into a new reality? Could we imagine ourselves living a new life and knowing that that is where all of our manifestations will come from this year, is our willingness to let go of old ways, to let go of old patterns, of old sticky beliefs, whatever it may be, and embrace the possibilities alive when we really tap into our imagination. So it's an opportunity this year specifically to truly check in with your life. Are you good? Are you happy? Are your daily patterns, are the reality of your daily life, is the reality of your daily life in alignment with your biggest dreams? Is this your dream life? If not, what can we transform? What can we bring into closure? How can we allow for completion? How can we allow for release so that dream life is invited to be ignited and birthed into our very much reality? Also, LOL, very much reality. I don't know what that even means grammatically, but you get the idea. And then too, speaking of this transformational energy, the number 9 is ultimately like the amplification of the number 3, which is like one of the most sacred numbers in the universe, because we have, I could give you so many examples of the symbolism of number 3 and how that's found in just about every religion and spiritual practice. But it's mind, body, spirit, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. It is past, present, future. Et cetera, et cetera. I could just keep going on and on, but it's really amplifying the harmonious qualities of the truth of the number 3. And so what that means, according to, numerology in the year of 2025 and all of these things, is it's a real invitation to bring forward the importance of honoring the mind, body, and spirit connection, and knowing that it's not just what we can see, right? This comes back into our nodal shift with North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo, is like reminding us that in order to be well, it's not just going to happen through your physically taking care of yourself. It's not just going to happen that way. It's also not just going to happen through talk therapy. Like it's not going to just happen through only talking and emotional wellness. It's mind, body, and spirit. We have to understand the importance of bringing together all of that for our ultimate transformation, and to really allow, because remember earlier I was talking about 9 as the wise sage, and it's this energy of completion, of lessons like really coming into fruition and really coming into this state of wholeness. And so with that, it's understanding this year specifically, like it's time to really wrap this up and like really get the message that it is mind, body, and spirit connectivity. We can't just focus on learning mentally. We can't just focus on exercising. We have to understand that in order to be well in our lives, it is a bodily experience, it's a mental experience, and it's a spiritual experience. And the year 2025 needs for us, the universe needs for us to really get that. So if you are feeling emotionally unwell, if you are not happy in your everyday life, if you are feeling more anger than you are happiness, it's an opportunity to check in. Like, so maybe, yeah, sure, you are exercising every day, you're eating well, you're whatever it may be, but you're neglecting talk therapy and you know that you need to talk some things out, or vice versa, or whatever it may be. But this is the year to really bring that lesson in. And I'm going to just say this, take it for what it is. If you do not like change, this is the year for you to get on board with it. If you are uncomfortable with transformation, with thinking in a different way, with shifting your beliefs and all of those things, it's going to be a year of tests, which is also fine because that ultimately brings forward spiritual growth. So we're here for that, but just know that it is going to feel like you are beating your head up against a wall this year if you do not enjoy changing. And so what I can see through the numerology and the astrology of this year, that is a possibility that could be challenging for us, is we will be in situations with other people specifically. So specifically, this is in regards to relationships, whether it be at work, whether it be with a group of people, whether it be at family, whatever it may be, where we are wanting them or a certain circumstance to be different, to change, whatever it may be. Honeys, that is your invitation. That is your invitation when you start to feel like, I wish they would do this. I wish they would just understand this. I wish they would change this. I wish they would do this way. When you start to feel that come up within you, know that in order to really feel into the magic of this year, it will be required that you look in the mirror. When you start to feel like you want someone else to shift, when you want someone else to do something differently, when you want something to be, whatever it is, look in the mirror. What could you do differently? How could you behave differently? Now, there are some circumstances where it's truly dangerous and you're unsafe. So of course, I'm not talking about super dramatic relationship with abuse and all of these things. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in general, when no human is like outwardly trying to hurt you or whatever it may be. They're just living their lives. And maybe they're not living their lives as consciously as you wish or in the way that you wish. But ultimately, they're just living their lives, right? They're not out to get you. They're not out to hurt you. They're not doing anything to purposefully cause harm in your life, okay? So disclaimer. I'm talking about just in general, right? When you start to feel into that energy, massive invitation to look in the mirror, to journal, to, again, talk therapy, somatic healing, hit the yoga mat, have a good friend that you can, get a different perspective from, whatever it may be. But it's so important that you take a look in the mirror. How could I change? And in fact, the prayer that I pray more than any other prayer is, dear God, please help me to see this through the eyes of love. Please help me to shift my perspective. And at the end of the day, please give me the courage, the strength, and the stamina to change my behavior, to change my thinking, to change my beliefs, to change my ways, to simply change. I am willing to change. Please give me the desire to. I am willing to change. Please guide me down that path. And I'm telling you, your life will inevitably be different for the better. Now, the last thing I want to speak to astrologically, because this could keep going on for like an hour if I just keep going, because there's so much magic to share for this year. But astrologically, the other big shift I want to bring to your awareness, because it will affect us until the year 2028, and it happens this year beginning in May, and it is Saturn transitioning into the sign of Aries. And so it'll stay from May until September. I'm pretty positive until September it'll stay in Aries, and then it will retrograde from September to February of 2026, but then it will stay in Aries from February to then 2028. So this is important energy to understand, because we have an opportunity to really tap into some powerful energy with this. So Saturn is the planet of responsibility. Saturn is the planet of structure and of systems. It's the real planet of maturity. And so, and honestly, same with the number 9. It's the number 9, not necessarily around the systems and structures and all of this, but the number 9 is the number of spiritual maturation. It's all about spiritual maturity. And then we have this Saturn moment in Aries. So the theme around maturity is really coming up. So it's a real invitation, and I'll dive more into Saturn and Aries and what that means, but it's like a real invitation to grow up, What do we find ourselves like still whining about? What are we still complaining about? What do we throw tantrums about? Yada, yada, yada. It's like, honey, bring it into completion. Let's grow up. Let's grow up together, because it's for the betterment of all. What do we keep finding ourselves in the same loops and the same patterns over and over and over again, right? It's like really an invitation to grow up spiritually and emotionally as well. Like really tap into emotional maturation is really important. Being able to feel our feelings and not bury them, and not feel like when we're overwhelmed with emotions, that we have to completely shut them down or completely, bury them so much, or we just shut the conversation down immediately and never return to that conversation because it was so uncomfortable. It's like nothing happens from that except for inflammation within the mind, body, and spirit, which turns into literal, energetic, emotional cancer, right? So it's so important this year specifically to grow up emotionally and spiritually. I really cannot emphasize that enough. But specifically with the Saturn transitioning into Aries moment, I'm super excited about this energy, because Aries, again, like I was explaining earlier, Aries is the energy of the self, of carving your new path, of creating a life that's aligned with your truth in a bold and courageous way. But the biggest thing that this is tapping into in regards to Saturn, right? The planet of responsibility and structure and systems and all of these things, being in the sign of Aries, that is about carving a new path, that is about pioneering type of energy, that is about creation energy. It's all about creating something, birthing things. It's like, okay, so we're doing all of this work this year around, or all of this energy this year around completion and letting things go and all of those things, because come for a large portion of 2025, but then 2026, 2027, 2028, we're really being asked to take responsibility for creation, for ignition, for pioneering type of energy. And when we consider like the structures and the systems in our like micro lives, but also on a macro level, it's so vital that we check in of like, we're creating, whether we realize it or not, we're creating all day, every day. So it's asking us to take responsibility on what we're creating, because we're either creating conflict or magic. With every single word we speak, with every single action we take, with every move we make, etc., etc. We're either creating more tension or more expansion. We're creating something with our every thought, word, and action. So this year we're starting to get the taste of like, what are you creating and why? And is it in alignment with your highest truth? Is it in alignment with your unique individuality? Does the path that you're carving, no matter what, knowing that you are carving a path constantly with your thoughts, with your words, with your actions, is the path that you're carving aligned with your true core essence? Is the path that you're carving aligned with the frequency of love? Is it making your life better? Is it enhancing your life? Or is it depleting your life? So this is a real opportunity to check in regards to an understanding and having, like, taking responsibility and knowing in a mature way, really growing up around this, to know that you are creating the world that you live in. You are the creator of the world that you live in. No matter if you want to believe it or not, it's just the way it is. You create the world you live in based on how you see the world, based on your thoughts, based on what you consume, based on your actions, based on your beliefs, based on your words. You're creating the world. So are you creating the world of your dreams? That brings it back to the Pisces in the North Node. Are you creating the world of your dreams? So we use the energy of the number 9 to release, to allow things to come into completion, to allow certain behaviors, patterns, etc., no matter if they're good or bad, but like to allow things to come into completion so that we can really embrace this evolution energy, the energy of transformation, of carving a new path, because it's time to be a pioneer. It's time to be a pioneer for your own life, to ignite the life of your dreams, and knowing that that's not really going to come from the big dramatic decisions. It's a culmination of your small everyday habits and patterns that add up. It's what you watch, it's what you listen to, it's what you eat, it's what you do with your time. All of these things that add up to ultimately allow you to ignite and bring to life and birth the life of your dreams. So I just want to end with this. I did a little card pull for us as well. And I prayed over the community, the RFY community, to see what would be the most beneficial thing for us to understand. And I shuffled all my cards, and the two that popped out instantly, that I didn't even pick, they just popped out, like literally jumped out of the deck, was magic and kindness. So it's a real invitation for us to remember the world beyond what we can see and what we can touch, and an invitation to really believe in magic this year, and to know that even amongst the intensities of the world, the chaos, the challenges, the suffering, the pain, there's also magic. There's also beauty. There's also bliss and love, just as much as there is conflict and other things like this. So the more you focus on magic, the more magical your life will become. And then similarly, same goes with the card that I pulled, that's the kindness card. And the example that this card gives, or the imagery, I should say, the card gives is a tree that just has the most epic roots and the most beautiful branches. And I just wanted to read what this card says and means, because I think that ultimately at the end of the day, one of the pieces of the number 9 that I didn't really touch on is also the energy of service and humanitarianism. So it's asking us to be more inclusive, to be more connected with each other, to be more connected with ourselves, to be more connected with the mightiness of this world, And then, of course, with that, it's the inevitability of transformation that comes with that. But this is what the card says. The tree does not choose who comes to rest in her shade. She gifts her arms and her hollows to all creatures indiscriminately. She silently wraps her roots around the roots of other trees to hold them up in the storms. Her fruits nourish the birds which scatter her seeds far and wide to recreate this cycle of giving. Kindness comes in the simplest of ways, sharing what we have without needing something in return, helping in whatever way we can without trying to fix anything, being transparent in our actions, free from ulterior motives, doing what we see needs to be done without requiring recognition from anyone. I'm going to say that part one more time. Doing what we see needs to be done without requiring recognition from anyone. By being a channel of kindness, I become a safe space for others to be. When I allow my roots to grow deep and entwine with yours, we become stronger together. The last card that I pulled was intimacy. And it really brings forth the understanding and the importance that this year we are meant to, if we want a magical life, if we want to experience more kindness, if we want to experience more bliss and more dreaminess in this life, it comes from intimacy. Recognizing the power and the potency of deep connectivity, and it begins with ourselves. Into me, I see intimacy. Into me, I see. So it's this understanding that if we want a deeper relationship with other people, right? It's like that example I was giving earlier, that when we're triggered by other people or wanting other people to change or whatever, it's an opportunity for intimacy. We're wanting to go deeper with that person. And in order to go deeper with that person, whether it be a spouse, a friend, your child, your mother, your anything, into me, I see intimacy. We have to be willing to go inside. We have to be willing to get so deep and intimate with our innermost workings, with our emotions, with who we are and why we're here. And then we have to know that there is support all around you. Whether it be through the community of RFY, whether it be through God, whether it be through your ancestors, through, your friends, whatever it is, you have support. You just have to open yourself up to receive it. There are some amazing therapists in this world, especially today, amazing somatic healers, amazing astrologers. There's so much support around you. In fact, more now than ever. Use it. Use it. Ask for help when you need help. If you don't feel well, if you are not well, if you are avoiding your emotions, whatever it may be, ask for help this year. Because it's going to be a year where intimacy is required. If we are going to allow things to come into completion, if we are going to embrace this healing energy, if we are going to welcome transformation, we have to be willing to be more intimate, beginning with ourselves. Into me, I see. Intimacy with ourselves, because then it's from there that we can be more intimate and more connected with others and have the relationships of our dreams with other people. But it's not going to come from you wishing or hoping for, or even telling someone else that they need to grow, that they need to change, that they need to consider this or that behavior. It comes from within you first. And then your relationship with nature changes. Your relationship with God changes. Everything changes for the better. And it will feel so much more magical. And you will experience so much more kindness and love and compassion because you're willing to go there with yourself first. Into me, I see. And so, my loves, I leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, this energetic download. I'm sending you all so much love and prayers for a truly medicinal, a truly magical, a really kind, a very powerful and transformational year ahead. Sending so much love. If you need anything at all from me, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always just an email away. Sending so much love and prayers for infinite blessings. Namaste.